Hi, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Sheridan.
And together we're Sipping on Spice podcast.
Yes, and so once a week, Jordan and I get together and we talk about a book that we've recently read, and we are going to review it. We treat this like a girls' night. Now, it is Sipping on Spice podcast, so make sure to grab a beverage.
And we're going to rate all of the books that we review on a scale of stars, so 1 to 5, depending on what we rate it and how good it was. And then also a spice scale, but instead of using like peppers, we use pennes. And if you can picture a penne pasta, you can figure out what we mean.
Yes, and this week we're going to be reviewing Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood.
Yep. This is not our first Ali Hazelwood book. I think it's my third.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. I will say for me, I've had books of hers that I've absolutely loved, and I've had books of hers that I feel like just weren't my favorite. So I always kind of go into these not quite sure I'm going to feel.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've read a lot more of her stuff.
Yes, and I'm really interested to talk about Not in Love. Because I typically really do love Ali Hazelwood. I know we both really liked Bride, which we read and reviewed earlier this year.
Yep.
I really love her love hypothesis stuff. There's another one that my mind is blanking right now that I've read before, and it's very, very good. I can't wait to talk about this book because I think there's mixed reviews, but I can't wait to hear what you think, and I want to dive into why I'm going to give it a mixed review. So okay. I typically love her. I really, really do. This one gave me mixed feelings.
Okay.
Good and bad. Yes. Sometimes I feel half this way, sometimes I
don't. Otherwise known as mixed feelings, as there are greater than one.
How many times would you like me to say the words mixed feelings?
I like that you explained it in case someone was like,
yeah. What does that mean?
What do you mean?
All right. So, and I'm going to throw it in again. What even gave me more mixed feelings was at first I really liked the book. At first, through the majority, I really was enjoying it. I had issues with, I guess, the more technical term would be pacing, but okay. I loved the beginning. I think some of my interest waned a little bit in the middle, and then I was happy with the end. But I think, yeah.
So let's just kick it off with a summary. Okay, so this book is about a female scientist, Rue, and she works with and for one of her considered best friends. She ends up having this chick named Florence, who pretty much is a mentor to her, believed in her, invested in her when she was really young and struggling. She came from pretty much no money, has a lot of trauma. Subtle trauma, I thought, which was interesting. Subtle trauma around food and just, I guess, knowing it's going to be coming and that kind of association with money. So this first person to really give her a chance, and she struggles socially. So one of her kind of always challenges is she doesn't have a lot of people in her circle because she struggles to connect with them. She feels like she's awkward and strange. Then she has this routine where she goes about having her intimacy arranged in something kind of like what I assume to be somewhat of a Tinder Hinge situation, but specifically around hookups. So her policy is one time and never again. She meets up with somebody. They have a lot of chemistry. The situation just kind of doesn't happen at that initial meetup. She goes into her work the next day and finds out this man works for a company that's essentially trying to take over her mentor's company. And the story kind of follows this quasi-forbidden love. I wouldn't quite call it forbidden, but it feels like a friendship kind of betrayal. Most forbidden. And how they navigate those waters and eventually fall in love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great synopsis. And I think that
thanks.
Yes. You're welcome. No, but you said everything perfectly because I was like, oh, yes. So I think the first topic that I'd like to talk about, as you mentioned, she has a lot of trauma that she's experienced. So there's a lot around that. I think that where I want to start talking is about the mentor character, Florence.
Okay.
That's where I want to start. So for me, it makes total sense because she's described all this trauma she's had. She meets this mentor who is successful in their field as a woman and really believes in our main female character, really believes in her and helps set her up for success. So there's a lot of, I think, with her past experiences and emotions, there's a lot of emotional investment in the relationship with her mentor. And she says she's a really good friend. Where to me, that almost felt, I can understand how other people would feel that way. I understood where the author was going. That made sense logically, but emotionally, I could not connect with that. And I really wanted to. And I couldn't. I tried.
Okay, so I think I felt similar, but I think the main reason I didn't empathize with it was because I couldn't get over the feeling this is an actual note I have. It's like my third note in, so very early on. I can't get over the feeling Florence is using Rue in some bad way.
Yes, totally.
And it wasn't as bad as I think I initially anticipated. I thought that she was trying to steal her work, which in a way, debatably, she was. I thought she was doing it a little bit more forward intentionally, I guess, than what actually ended up happening. I think in her own way, Florence cared about her, just not in a real friendship way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think the way that she closed out that relationship made a lot of sense by essentially just saying like, where she said like she cared about her or something and being like, yeah, just not more than yourself.
Yeah, which I appreciated. She finally came to that realization and kind of said that and like communicated that with the help of her romantic male lead, which he definitely plays a big part in all of this. But I think for me too, with the whole Florence storyline and that being would you say that is the conflict in the book?
I think there's two conflicts. I think there's the internal conflict of, what she thinks it means to be a friend to somebody, especially as somebody who doesn't really have any, and how to maintain that loyalty to somebody who she feels has been completely loyal to her. And then I do think the second part is I guess let me ask you this. To me, it seemed like they, Ali pretty much spent a lot of time in the early on chapters and pages trying to essentially instill that uncertainty. I feel like she spent a lot of time building up all of this uncertainty around, was it Florence? Was it Eli? Was it Harkness? They're trying to create a reader conflict.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Because I think that they, again, logically, we're reading. The book is even called Not in Love, and the Rue, our female lead, and then also the male lead, they struggle to kind of, I guess their conflict of getting together is, at the beginning, both of them are people who would keep other people at arm's length. Like both of them are not good, and they admit this in emotional intimacy. So their conflict in their journey is overcoming that in their personality, but then like you said, quasi forbidden because he bought the loan. He works for an investment firm that bought the loan of the work of her mentor, basically. So they kind of hold the keys to whether her mentor's company is going to still be around. So there's this whole quasi forbidden thing to it. And I kept asking myself, and I actually wrote this down because over and over the relationship conflict is, oh my gosh, we shouldn't be doing this. This is a betrayal to Florence. And then I kept being like, why? What? Why do you care so much what Florence thinks? Not to sound like negative, but I kept being like, I guess like I kept being, why? It just seemed to be, I didn't understand. I logically understood. I didn't empathize with why she cared so much about what Florence thought about it if she found out.
I think I got the concept of it. I just guess I didn't care about Florence's feelings because I didn't trust Florence. You know what I mean?
True.
Like I was just like, She gets a little hurt.
Yeah. I so agree with you. I totally wrote down too, like in the middle beginning of like, okay, she's trusting Florence a little too much.
Yeah. So I wrote down specifically, this is towards the end, before Eli tells her what happened with Florence and all of that, right? And she sees the deposition come out. So I wrote down at this point, it's clear Florence is a biatch and doesn't own her work.
I love that you wrote that down.
This is word for word. At this point, it's clear Florence is a biatch and Rue doesn't own her own work. I'm guessing the lawyer sister, because I could never remember her name. It's like Neokota. I don't.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
It was pretty, but I agree with you. I don't remember what it was, but it was pretty.
It just didn't hang out. And I said, I'm guessing the lawyer sister is about to have time, in quotes, to read her contract and inform Rue at some critical moment.
I mean, you psychic.
And I think that was my main hang up with this book. I really liked the banter in it. I liked the chemistry between them. I think I struggled with one, how do I put this? I struggled to understand this absolutely magnetic pull they had to each other and how prevalent it was to like push these meetups forward.
I can definitely see that. He is almost instantly interested. He is almost
well, he thinks she's hot. He is very clear. He's very much like, I am in love with her body.
Oh my God, I highlighted that line because I wanted to talk about that line because I wanted, like, in the context of the book, it makes sense. And you're like, okay. They both talked about how they coordinate these meetups, emotional as sex meetups, and all of that, but then I was like, imagine someone said that to you in real life that you were seeing.
I mean, he thought it. He didn't say it.
I know, but imagine someone had said that out loud to you. Yeah. And you were seeing them or whatever.
It didn't bother me that much because the way I took that line was like him convincing himself he wasn't having these feelings. Because I do think, while I did start this off by saying that I struggled with their like pull to each other, once they started exchanging some of those like messed up stories and they started to get deeper, there was an intimacy behind that I started to understand, especially for Rue, who didn't have intimacy. I guess I struggled to rectify that for Eli with him being essentially a reformed playboy. Don't they imply that?
Yeah, they do. They totally do. And they even say he was super charming, outgoing,
had
popular,
ex-fiancés.
so to speak. Ex-fiancés, yes. And then he goes through some family situations that are really difficult. And then a big part of the plot is that this mentor, Florence, steals their work, the male leads company's work. So then they're kind of put in a really negative situation by the mentor. So all that happens in his personality shifts, where he struggles to trust people just like Rue. So I agree with you. My favorite parts of this book is kind of their journey of opening up and trusting each other. That's probably my favorite part of the book.
Yeah, I think so too. I liked, especially as she started to stay over and stuff, I liked watching that emotional growth of actually finally receiving connection. And I really loved from his perception how he felt about her actual personality. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a popular guy meets kind of lame girl and fixes her up and makes her super social and makes her, it wasn't that. And I really loved that about it. It really was about just like truly loving somebody for who they are, quirks, whatever, and just like a true appreciation. So I will say, as much as I struggled with the initial connection, this is one of those relationships that you read and you feel like, well, that's a stable relationship. Your blog is going to be okay.
Yes. And they do handle some pretty ups and downs, some pretty big ups and downs in their plot line with good communication. Like there's not really a big miscommunication between the
no third act breakup.
No.
I did enjoy that aspect of it. I will say though, I'm about to Dinkelberg you.
Okay. Yes.
was really on there. Okay.
Yes. Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. They would have a good epilogue if they had one.
I know. What the WTF is this? All that for nothing. Nothing. Well, we get some, but not.
If I had one.
Yes. Why? I wonder why they chose to do that.
The
author.
This was two Twisted Crowns. Worse. At least Rachel gave me 3 pages. I had my 3 pages to hold on to. Like, they didn't want to have kids. Fine. Right. I don't care. Just talk to me about them in the future. Like, I did actually really like that, though. So there were 2 things that Ali did in this book that I really liked, that I thought was a unique take, that you don't see a lot in romance, that I think is important. I think that what would be cool to see in contemporary specifically more often is people who have different life outcomes, not just married with kids that they perfectly had themselves. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I would like to see different epilogues where they are perfectly happy together still. Like, I'm not saying any conflict. I'm just saying I want to see different families living different lives that are like true to them. Because I imagine if you want to have kids, or if you don't want to have kids, and not seeing happy ever afters that replicate that, that it starts to feel not only redundant but lonely. And I don't think that's really true anymore.
No, I completely agree. I love this point. I so agree. Actually, just quick side tangent. Another book series we absolutely love, the Dirty Martini Running Club. Hazel's book, one of the female characters in her epilogue, they touch on the fact that they struggled to get pregnant, because you're right, in contemporary, it does seem like they get there happily ever after, and then it's like boom babies, or they talk about like, oh, I have kids, which is wonderful and does happen for some people, but it doesn't happen for everybody. So what I loved in Hazel's book, exactly to your point, is that they talked about like, no, it took them a while, and explained that epilogue. I agree with you. This was a unique take that Ali Hazelwood wrote in this book, that they both did not want to have children. But why didn't we get to see their epilogue, their life?
Yeah, I wanted to see that. I wanted to see what like happily ever after was to them, because I do think that's important. Just to see a different happily ever after. I think especially a big thing of reading is learning empathy and picking on different characters and feelings and past. And so it's just how amazing is it to think of a different future you maybe never knew was available to you?
Oh, I love that. Yes, I love that. Oh, that's a good quote. That's a great quote. I love it. That is so good. No, that's amazing.
The second thing that I love that she did that was different is the ex-fiance wasn't an enemy. It is okay to have healthy breakups and have healthy conversations around that, and not be fueled by jealousy and anger and touch her and die energy. I loved seeing, while I do like that in a male lead, like, again, I'm not against, not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying I loved that this had a different flow to it, a different I guess type of interaction. People can have a different kind of relationship, and it's still perfectly great.
Yes, no, I totally agree. I thought that was really well done also, because it was even what she said when they broke up was very logical. And I think a lot of people, again, would feel that way. She's like, I think that you love me. I just don't think you love me the way I want to be loved, or more than your work, which happens to people. Yeah.
And people have the ones before the ones or whatever. And that's a totally normal, natural thing for people to go through, is realize that they can be that person for somebody else. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a abusive, awful, gross past. Like, it could just be, here's my Michelin star ex-girlfriend, ex-fiance. Let me make you some French toast she taught me how to make.
I thought that was so cute. Like, if you're going to pick something up from an ex, being able to cook amazing food is like so good. What a good thing.
And then he goes on to say, like, he wished he picked up more dishes for her. I don't know. I just loved a different couple with different goals and different paths and things that just weren't so textbook.
Yes, I really liked that in the book too. I really liked, like you mentioned, they were unique. I also was really invested in their journey of what I thought was interesting is Rue definitely talks about, the female lead talks about having a lot of trauma and unfortunate things that happened with food scarcity, like emotional instability with her family structure. But it also wasn't something that was like, she woke up, she was with the male lead, and that was fixed. You mentioned it earlier, but another thing I really appreciated is he accepted her for her kind of, like, she calls them quirks, or her inability to quote unquote be good with people, she says. Right. But he found that really endearing, and it wasn't this thing of like, you've now cured my trauma.
Right.
It was like, that was who she was.
Yeah.
And he fell in love with that. I thought that was very good and refreshing. Like,
and he was like, no worries, I hate eating on the run anyways.
Oh my gosh, I know.
We'll sit, we'll eat. Like, I loved that. Get the plates.
Yeah. yes. That was so sweet and so romantic. And I also loved they're learning how to like remove their armor with each other. Mm-hmm. And how they learn to, like, they're sharing what they thought was the worst thing they did, or these terrible stories. And it was like, whoa, what a way to like build intimacy, truly, you know?
Not like, where'd you go to high school?
What's your favorite color? Yeah.
The time you sold your dead mom's heirloom.
Right. And then your sister like asked about it. When I read that, I cringed because I was just like, ooh, I would not want to have that conversation. I got that feeling like, you know.
And, you know, he was just young and didn't know any better. Yeah. It's just, you know, he probably regretted that bad.
Oh, totally. That's also something else I found so interesting. She wrote into the book is she really dives into sibling relationships and family trauma. I thought that was really unique because they both had to take care of a younger sibling, and how they kind of both deal with that, and that shapes who they are. Yeah. And how I just thought that was really interesting. And again, not something you often see in contemporary romance.
No, I totally agree. Oh my God. I don't know how we haven't talked about this
yet.
Okay. So do you remember when we were talking about Bridgerton books and the pages?
Okay. Yes.
Today's the day.
We are here. Finally.
Okay. The first note I have. Okay. So I had to be like 3 pages in. Okay. That's how early on. My note says, bitch about the pages in my book. Here's what happened to me. I bought a physical copy of this book, and I got the Barnes & Noble special edition because I love Barnes ·& Noble.
That's awesome.
I'm a member, okay?
Oh.
I love being a member. This isn't hopefully about you, Barnes & Noble. Yeah. And it has like the cool holographic front, but that's like the only difference, right? It's just like cool paperback, whatever. Fine. I was excited it was holographic, but it didn't.
That does sound pretty.
I was just excited, right?
Yeah.
The pages in this book are single ply toilet paper consistency.
Oh, so like really rough.
It not just rough, but like it feels like anything I do is going to break the page. So it's just like I can't even think of like guest bathroom in a gas station kind of toilet paper. High school bathroom toilet paper. It is that consistency. And I was like, who would do this to me? Like, I literally brought 2 books over to my husband. I need you to see why I'm so angry right now. So,
I like how different things are.
What I have to say is, how dare you?
Yeah. Write the publishers. Be like, I spent money on this, and you had a beautiful holographic cover, and then you let me down with your single plywood paper. Also, very important question: why do high school bathrooms have such terrible toilet paper? Do they not care?
In bulk and stuff?
I guess, but still, I when you said that,
they could be out there buying Charmin.
True, whole other conversation. True, but yes, no, that would bug me as well.
To enjoy the go.
They're like, the bell is ringing. We want you out there. Ew, just all of it is ew. Okay, but yeah. But I get it. That would bother me too. It's like the old school romance novel paper, like the coarse, not nice, thinner paper.
Yes. I Okay. He has a quote that he says when they first start hooking up that I laughed at so hard I wrote down to share with you.
Okay.
It was his thought of what if he did her laundry to thank her for having sex.
Oh my God, I wrote that down too.
I was like, honestly,
so good.
Launder.
Yeah, please.
Launder away.
Please.
That is the right way to say thank you.
I wrote that down too. Like, where is this? And can you have all men do this? I was like,
why is this our love language?
I know. Like, can you? Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I don't want a private jet, but if you do my laundry,
that is
more
the best. Thank you. Yes.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I love that you're.
I literally wrote that down too because I was like, "Damn, he's romantic." Like,
okay, me all day.
Exactly. Do you want to do the dishes? Do you want to do the laundry? Yes.
I will say, I loved Eli as a male lead. I thought he was. I loved his version of romance. It was very romantic. I thought. See laundry.
Yeah.
But I also thought. And this brings me to another point. How sad is it that the smallest detail of him being a former defensive hockey player made him so hot?
I literally thought of you when I read that, and I was like, okay, here we go. Hockey romance. Jordan's going to be set. Yeah, reform Playboy hockey.
He went from being like a sketch I couldn't imagine to like, nice.
You're like, okay. I'm down with you now. That's so funny. I literally thought of you when I read that. I was like, oh Jordan,
predictable.
It's gonna get points from Jordan. I thought that was because like I was like, okay, so Ali Hazelwood is really known for writing STEM romances in like a medical or academic setting. The majority of her books are set in STEM realm. So I thought this was interesting. She did another STEM romance book. But she also added in like the hockey player and former ice skater too, like what is it? Figure ice skating?
Figure skater?
Figure skating. Thank you. Figure skating.
I like it. Blades of Glory.
Okay.
Whatever.
I want to watch that now. She did a STEM romance, but they also were hockey players and figure skaters. I thought that was interesting that they just kind of, in a past life, this is what I did.
I love how he told her that he wouldn't want to do anything as intimate as skating with her after she was so weird. Yeah. Like, that was so funny to be like, yeah, God forbid we skate together.
Yeah.
On the car.
Right. And she was like, okay.
Like, all right, well.
Yeah, she's like, that's fine. That's so funny. Oh, what I really like too is how almost immediately he's protective of her. Like almost immediately. I was like, okay, I like this.
Yeah, I think I loved their evolution of love. I think, like you said, I just struggled to find like what was wrong.
Yeah. What was the conflict? Like, again, I kept just asking, like, lady, why not?
But at the same time, how did she not think it was weird that Florence was always asking about her relationship with Eli? Like, always bringing it up. Like, is he around you? Is he bothering you? Is he calling you? Is he smoke signaling you?
Yeah.
Okay, you stay away from that fellow.
Yeah.
You don't listen to anything he tells you. Like, what?
Yes. And
could you be a bigger red flag?
True. And I also just think maybe this is true in life, but it's definitely true in books. When someone is so like, they were wonderful, they were perfect, they were smart, they were everything that's ever been wonderful in the whole world, you know that person's going to betray you. Like when you're reading the book, like you know what's coming. When she kept talking about how fantastic Florence was, I was like,
yeah.
Lady.
You know what I struggled with the most though?
What?
The only time I fluctuated in my discontent and assumed guilt of Florence was when I found out she was knitting her a sweater. I was like, damn, would you knit her a sweater? I was like, God damn, that's good evidence. Would you knit somebody a sweater? I would not.
No, that is friendship. That is friendship. Unless you absolutely loved knitting and you would knit for anyone and then it wouldn't mean anything, you know?
Or you were so scheming that you took up knitting. But she didn't feel
Dang.
well, maybe, but I was like, that was my only contention because it happens like I want to say 2/3 through the book where I was just like, well, she's out here knitting. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what I also thought there? I was like, how does she have the time?
Yeah, are you?
How does she have the time?
Apparently, she's pawning all her work off on everyone else.
Exactly. And then I thought it was really interesting too how, what I did love too, because the whole thing, I guess Florence is the villain. She's
I'm watching
the
your brain short circuit and pick different sounds to go down.
Very true, because I'm like, okay, I want to say this, I want to say this. Florence is the villain. She's like the plot conflict. And now I totally forgot what I was going to say about it.
Sorry. I don't really think she's a villain, though. I just don't think she's the best.
I mean, she's got to be the villain, right? Like, she's the whole... I mean,
does everyone need a villain?
Good question. I guess not. What a good philosophical question. But she does kind of like, that's what it was. She does ruin their lives at Harkness. And then I thought what I loved that Rue calls out is that Florence says she's like the, underdog. It's hard for a woman in their field. But then I love that Rue called out. Exactly. Like you just screwed someone else over in a worse position than you. I love that she called that out. I loved that Rue's sense, like moral compass, was this is what's right and this is what's wrong. And Florence even tries to gaslight it out of her to be like, well, it's a gray area. And I totally love that Rue was like, no, that's not gray.
I also like that at the end of the day, even on the Harkness side, because everybody pretty much in that group has to make a decision at some point in time of like which, if they're going to do revenge or if they're going to follow their moral follow their moral compass. And I think it was nice to see that even the Harkness side did it, like everybody across the board was more worried about not having the same thing be repeated to somebody else.
I really appreciated that too. I was like, okay, like I like when you can read books where you're rooting for the characters. Like I love a morally gray male lead. I find that is my red flag. I love to read about. But I also really love, which was in this book, where you're like, you know what? No, I can root for you. I am behind your decisions. We also don't see that often in books.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
Did you feel like this book teed up a spinoff anywhere?
Yes.
I want your opinion on this.
Multiple places.
That's what I thought too. So I kind of wanted your opinion on that and what you think is next for this potential series, I would say.
I can't remember the guy's name, but like the guy that is Irish that's in the Harkness group. What's his name? It's Hark, right?
Hark. Yeah.
And Eli's younger sister. I think they set that up. So I think that's going to be a sequel.
That's a big age gap.
But he watched her leave the room and he took a big drink of his drink. Like they're setting that up that maybe he liked. What is her name again? Is it Imami?
I think it's Minami.
Minami, thank you. Imami is seafood, I think. But anyways, we'll take that out. Unagi, there we go.
7 skinny roll.
That they had a thing, that they had a love triangle or love square. But I think he has a thing for the sister with how he reacted.
I do too. I think he feels guilty about it, probably. I thought there was something there. I also thought they've kind of set up Tisha. Was that her name, Tisha?
Yes.
I feel like they're kind of trying to make you like her so she gets a book too.
Yep. And then even at the end, it says Rue kind of connects or commiserates, is buddy with a guy she just met, that her friend just met. And she said, this is like the first guy I've liked in a long time. So I think they'll get their own book
that's
too.
right. The frat guy.
Yes.
I liked him.
Yes.
I liked him a lot, actually.
I loved when the friend is like, are you sure? I'm not really sure. It doesn't sound like Florence, yada, yada, yada. And then he's like, yeah, because she didn't just admit it. Like, because Florence does admit what she did to Rue. And he's like, yeah.
So one more time.
Yeah. It's not like she just admitted it to Rue. I thought that was really funny. I liked him too.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any other notes?
No, that's really it. Again, like I really liked the beginning of this book and I was hooked for their love story. I really loved the journey of Eli and Rue. I loved how they did fall in love with each other, but in a unique way that fits their personality. I really struggled, though, to see why the conflict was there. And I struggled to empathize with that.
She's one of her best friends. She's
that's true.
She works for.
Okay.
I was going to say, are you about to look to my face and tell me you would not care?
No. But it's, you know what I mean? Like, especially in a school setting.
I just don't think it makes sense. I don't think it adds up. So what would you rate it star-wise?
Honestly, probably like a 3.5. 3.25.
Yeah. I'm leaning closer to a 3. I like I said, I liked their romance. I do feel like they are actually a really great couple. I liked a lot of pieces of this book, but I felt kind of like you said, I struggled with conflict. I struggled with wanting more. And I struggled with no epilogue.
I love how you got real clear right there on the no epilogue.
I just think it's important to remember. Debatably, the Yerg skip is an epilogue. I disagree.
Yeah,
because you just got together. You need a skip. Like there was it was all okay. Actually, I think that's the root of it. It's the same reason I've had problems with other slow burn books, because I don't struggle with all slow burn books, but I do feel that when the very end is the couple getting together and I don't actually get to see them be a couple ever, I feel like bummed.
Yeah, it's a letdown because you're like, I just got emotionally invested for why? For what?
Yeah. Like I got no payoff.
Yeah, exactly.
It just ran into the sunset. It's like it almost feels like rom-com movies in that way. And I don't like when rom-com movies do that either.
Oh, like when they're just like, okay, cool, we got together, bye.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Okay, the end.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for all your time.
Yeah, that can't be the end. I am invested. I am attached. And honestly, like it's like that Taylor Swift song, like, I look in people.
Yeah. I love that.
That's me.
You're like, I need to know more. So this is supposed to be Ali Hazelwood's like spiciest book. How would you rate it on spice? Penny pastas.
I would say like a 3.5, right?
Yeah, I'd say 3.5 because there were some like I don't know. So I guess it how do we determine spice in the penne pasta? Is it the frequency or is it the type or a combo of both?
So for me, I think what makes this 3.5, because I would say a 5 is like
the whole book. That's what they're doing.
There's a like every couple, like I would say like they're like
yes, like they're going at it.
Frequent intimacy.
Yeah. Yes. Now,
in this one, I feel like it was closer to the frequency. I don't think it matters what type. Like if you're having vanilla sex every 5 pages, it's still spicy.
True. But what I think this book did, because it's semi-frequent, it's fairly frequent for sure. But I think that what was, and now this may just be because I listened to part of this book on audiobook. Oh. So they're like explaining to me what's happening. But to me, I might go higher on the spice scale, just a little bit, 3.5, maybe 3.75, because some of the things Eli says that he wants to do, I'm okay, that's a little, that you're going into type of spice there. I'm like, okay, that's a little spicier than
you're getting into kinks.
Exactly.
Now, I will say with this book being her spiciest, I don't mind a spicy book. I honestly won't even mind a 5 spice as long as I feel like the plot is heavy within it, or at least I'm invested in it, right? Like Zodiac Academy is very high spice, but there is a lot of plot.
Yes.
So you don't feel like you're just like reading smut.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
I think what I struggled with in this book as well was that sometimes it felt like they were having sex just to have sex.
Yes, I can see that. Because it would be, I think the author was trying to show she's emotionless and sexist. She even says this, Rue says this, it's a way she was able to find connection with other people.
Yeah.
So I think she was trying to show this is how, she is somewhat emotionless about sex. But I can see what you're saying, where it felt like it was almost like a plot device. It's just like, okay, now you have it again.
Yeah, and I totally get your point, and I think that does add, like, I see what you're saying. I think it's just even, like, there was like a line, I think, where he says he could tell she's completely detached in the moment and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I just think then it becomes the only catalyst. It makes it hard to buy into those intimate moments if they're one sentence and then 2 days of banging, and then one sentence or paragraph, and then 2 days of banging. You see what I'm saying? Like the balance, it's hard to not feel like that's kind of what's happening.
Yes, no, I completely agree with you. Okay, so I did laugh really hard after the first time, and she sleeps, like she falls asleep, and then she wakes up and she leaves. Or no, it's the first time, so there's no sleeping involved. But isn't she like, okay, bye, have a nice life, whatever?
She literally, it feels like she's still like coming down from the orgasm. She's just like,
okay,
and he thought he hurt her. I was actually surprised by that. I was like, oh, I thought he was just being like weird. I was like, well, what's he getting all upset about? And then he was like, I thought I hurt you. And I was like, oh.
I know. See, he got really protective and sweet early on. I liked that. I did really like that.
Yeah. Like I said, I really liked him as a male lead.
Did you like Rue as a female lead? Did you struggle with her as a female lead character?
I did.
Yeah.
I liked how honest she was, but I struggled with her mindset. I struggled with, I felt like she had a really big victim mindset. It's crazy because it had nothing to do with her trauma. When it came to her trauma, I actually thought she was a really strong character, and how she talked about how she got help for her trauma, how she works and takes actions to not trigger it, how she like can explain it and not feel like ashamed of it or anything. You know what I mean? Like she's obviously a very empowered character, so I did like that piece, but it felt like the rest of her felt clunky.
I could see that, and I think what I really liked Eli as a male lead.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think this comes back to the whole Florence thing. I think where I struggled with Rue is I struggled with some of her decision making.
Yeah.
And that's all. That's all. I did also, I appreciated reading a female lead that, again, lived completely in the black and white.
Yeah.
Not the gray area. Also struggled to connect socially with people. I thought that was very interesting and a fresh take because we don't normally read about female leads like that. So that was really interesting, and I really loved their romance. But I just struggled with some of her decision making.
Yeah.
And I think that made it hard to empathize again with her.
Yeah. Agreed.
But yeah, like I said, I really liked the beginning. I struggled in the middle, but I was happy with how it all wrapped up in the end. And I do think they're going to set it up for future
Except
books.
for the epilogue.
Or the lack thereof.
The non-epilogue.
The one that does not exist.
The nopologue.
The nopologue!
For somebody who doesn't believe in closure, I need a lot of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, do you believe in love after love? Closure.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Here's another reason, and I think it touches on her decision making. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I wrote that I was mad that she was mad at Eli. Like when she finds the papers.
Oh, yes.
Okay. What she specifically tells him, they need to keep it completely separate from work. That she can't be a part of any of this, that it's disloyal to Florence. He knows, like, nobody's going to take him seriously if he comes in as, like, your bestie, your mentor.
Right.
Betrayed me, and she's going to betray you, too. And she's gonna, She wouldn't have believed him. It would have just been, like, another. So when she initially got mad, I was glad with how quickly she forgave him, because I did write this in the moment, like, right when it happened. But I was like, how dare you be mad at him? Like, what did you want him to do? Tell me what you wanted. Tell me
Exactly. No, I completely agree with you, which again, where I struggled with some of her decision making, because like you said, what would she have preferred? And again, your anger is directed at the wrong person.
Yeah.
And I think what was frustrating too in that moment is like, we all know she knows. Rue knows Florence did it. It's not even like she almost automatically believes. And she's like, oh,
she's immediately like, let me go ask some questions, actually.
Exactly. And she's like, oh, yeah, Florence has been acting a little strange, a little sketch, actually. You know?
And she just didn't want to ask Eli.
Yeah, that I also just didn't understand. That it didn't make sense.
That's exactly right. I think I had a hard time putting thought to why I struggled with her, but I think you are absolutely right. It's the decision making. It's things like this where you're just like,
because it was almost, it's like exasperating,
or like child's behavior.
Yeah, very true. Because it's just like, why are you making this decision? And again, I think that I loved their romance, and I loved how even in the end, Eli is like, well, I just wanted to protect her. I didn't want her to get hurt. I didn't want Rue to feel betrayal like they felt betrayal. So every chance he gets, he shows. I know. Every chance he gets, he shows how much he cares for her. I love him too.
And he's like fighting for her the whole time. His humor with her, just like everything. Eli was a 5 out of 5.
Ooh, yes.
It just wasn't this context. That's all.
I agree. I completely agree. And I did think that boys in love early on. He says he's in love with her body, but he's in love early on. He falls hard and first.
I'm trying to think of if there's any game.
How much you hate Florence? I hate Florence. How much you're upset about?
No. We're gonna do fuck, marry, kill with the female leads.
Oh, let's do it. Okay, cool.
Okay, I'm gonna use Florence, Rue, and Tisha.
Okay, I'm gonna kill Florence. I'm going to have sex with Rue because it sounds like maybe I would appreciate her outlook towards it. You know, it'd be mutually enjoyable. And then I would marry Trisha.
I feel like the same.
Mm-hmm.
Dang it.
I know. Okay, I feel like if we did male leads, it would just be Eli.
Yeah.
You know, unless there's another male lead in there, you also connected. I'm like, I want to see.
Turk sounded kind of like a child.
Mm-hmm.
He came off like his lines that they brushed off and stuff. I was like, he's kind of an ass.
Yes, and it's kind of like
Jenny, he's not.
No, I agree.
Carrying them out. Sorry.
No, I agree. So I can't really think. I mean, there's Florence's ex-husband. There's the ex. There's a soul. Yeah, but yeah, that's it.
My Barnes and Noble pages.
Yes.
Betrayal.
Oh, yes, that is especially because it had a holographic cover.
It's so shiny.
Yes, they spent so much effort on the cover.
It's an exclusive. It wasn't a part of the exclusive. An epilogue.
Never gonna let that go. Never gonna let that go.
I swear to God.
We really know what bothers Jordan now.
There was really no epilogue in Bride, wasn't there?
There was, I thought. Yeah. I don't remember feeling like, oh, there's no epilogue.
I don't remember ever feeling betrayed.
No. Also, in her other books, like The Love Hypothesis, like 99% sure there's an epilogue. Where you get.
She want us to know what they're up to. Maybe it's about like the later series. Maybe she's sitting in her writer's chair, like, listen, peasants, hang tight and let me write a freaking series, okay?
Exactly. She's like, just you wait.
Yeah.
Would you?
I'm gonna come back in 5 years and watch you eat your words on your own podcast,
right? And we'll be like, now we got all this story in the future.
Because that's not to say I would read another Ali Hazelwood book. This just wasn't my pick.
Yeah, I get that. Like I said, it started really strong for me. I really loved it, and I struggled to put it down. And then I just got to this part in it where I was like, then it got a little struggling until the very end.
Yeah.
But we've said multiple times we absolutely loved Bride from earlier this year. So would absolutely read another Ali Hazelwood book. And I think she's a great author.
Well, you heard it here first through the grapevine on Sippin' on Spice. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Sheridan.
And if you like what you heard, please join us next week. You can follow us on TikTok or Instagram at Sippin' on Spice, or you can join us here or on YouTube. That actually might be where the Here You Are is. The Here in the audio everywhere you listen or watch. But if you want to come back next week, there will be more. We're not done.
See you there. And cheers.
Cheers.